All right, coming up, what week 11 games do we need to be watching? There's so many good ones.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, what's a week 11 game that you're going to be watching?
All right, so I have to pull up the calendar.
Let's go.
We've got a lot of good stuff to look at when it comes to the schedule this week. So, of course, the main games we'll be eyeballing are going to be threefold. SEC-wise, you've got A&M traveling to Missouri. So it's going to be an interesting one because depending on the outcome of that game, it may be a determining factor of when you play Missouri, if it'll be a ranked game or not.
Yeah.
And if Missouri pulls the upset, it really helps Oklahoma not only guaranteed to play against a ranked Missouri when they go up against them in 3 weeks, but you also brings Texas A&M down to where they may not play in the SEC championship game. So you kind of got a couple of implications there to really eyeball. You definitely got to keep an eye out for LSU and Alabama. It's a night game in Tuscaloosa, and this is why I see why Oklahoma did not get the night treatment against Alabama, because it would be back-to-back night games. Even though you kind of probably still should have done that, because truth be told, Indiana-Penn State would have been a much better night game with everything going on at Penn State, and Indiana being number 2 in the country. Probably would have been better. Or even BYU, Texas Tech. You're not getting either one of those, which is kind of disrespectful, but I digress. That's another one that you got to keep your eyeballs on. I don't know if Auburn Vanderbilt's intriguing, mainly because of the coaching change.
Yeah.
When you look at the SEC, and I think if those are the 3 games in the SEC I'd say you really care about. Should you care about Georgia, Mississippi State? Maybe, but it's 11 o'clock, and I think there's a reason why.
I mean, that one's just, I think, a fun game to keep an eye on, just because it's the 11 o'clock game. But it doesn't really have any college football playoff implications unless Georgia loses it. But I think Auburn Vanderbilt is interesting from the fact that if Vanderbilt loses that game, that's their 3rd loss and they're out of the playoff picture. And it kind of clarifies some of the muddiness that is the SEC and their potential bids. Because, I mean, you could be looking at a 4 or 5 bid SEC playoff picture, but would Oklahoma be one of those 5 if Vanderbilt's still in the mix? I don't know. But if Vanderbilt gets knocked off at any point in time down the stretch, that could open the door a little bit more for Oklahoma if, again, they're able to take care of business as well. So I do think that one has a little bit of intrigue to it, because there's going to be a number of 2-loss teams over the next few weeks that, like Texas A&M, Texas versus Georgia. If Texas goes in and beats Georgia, then you've got 2-loss SEC teams right there. And then you're talking about Texas versus Texas A&M being a big-time college football playoff game, or not game, but a game with big implications on the final weekend of the season. Oklahoma, Alabama, that's another one. I mean, there's so many over the final few weeks that a lot of these teams that have 2 losses, you got to keep an eye on a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I think the Big 12 one, the Texas Tech and BYU one, is going to be a lot of fun. College Game Day is going to be in town for that one. So
yeah, that was the one I was thinking about. I want to talk about too, because that one has massive implications. BYU's undefeated. Texas Tech has lost 1 game, and that was because Baron Morton was out.
Yep.
With an injury. He's back. So that was what against Arizona State on the road. So he was hurt. He's back. They're playing. So there's a good chance that they pull this win off. Depending on the score, neither one of them falls very far.
No. Yeah.
Like, there's a very good chance that BYU loses and they maybe drop 2 spots. Texas Tech loses, they maybe drop 4 spots, which means they're still in the top 12. So, yeah, there's a very good chance for both of them to stick around. And BYU doesn't have anybody on their schedule that's actually terrifying, if we're being honest. They've got TCU, Cincinnati, which could be a challenge because Cincinnati's not a bad team, and then UCF.
It's definitely a manageable schedule for the Cougars, but it's also a little bit funny that this game is going to be played on ABC as opposed to Fox. So all the typical gnashing of teeth and about SEC bias and the Big 12's biggest game of the year is going to be getting the ESPN College Game Day treatment, plus beyond the ABC, the premier network in the Disney family of networks.
Yep. I mean,
just a little fascinating nugget there.
I mean, it's kind of easy to understand why, right?
Oh, yeah,
Big Noon Kickoff decided that, the most important game for them is Indiana traveling to Happy Valley.
Disrespectful.
Very disrespectful. That should not even be on the list of things.
Nope.
So from there, though, outside
are
of
Big
that,
12 fans still mad at the ESPN SEC relationship, or are they more mad at the Big Ten relationship?
Oh, they're mad. They're big mad. They're still big mad.
So mad. It is interesting because this does create the potential for two bids from the Big 12 making the playoff, where last year they were limited to just one. After this week, we'll see how much the committee respects the Big 12 based on the outcome of this one.
No, I totally agree. And I think that this game is a good indication of how the Big 12 could have a chance to fight their way in for two teams easily. Because like I said, neither one of them really have just big challengers at the end of their schedule. Texas Tech has UCF and West Virginia, in which West Virginia is still basically rebuilding with Rich Rod being the head coach there. And UCF, Scott Frost making his return. They're not the best, but they're not the worst. They're at 500 right now, but the way Tech has been playing, especially defensively, they should be able to run right through them, right? So both of these teams are basically set up to make it all the way to the Big 12 championship game for a rematch. And unless BYU wins, if Tech loses, I don't think they'll be able to. No, they'll be fighting with Cincinnati, and they'll have the Cincinnati game will be the determiner of who goes to the Cincinnati could throw a wrench into things, which leads to Houston, Utah, Arizona State, and technically TCU all having only 2 losses in conference. That could get a little squirrely right there in the end, right?
It could. Again, the final month of the season is going to be chaos, and I love it. And that's part of the reason why the expansion was kind of a good thing, is it makes a lot of these games matter a whole lot more than what they might have in the 4-team era or the BCS era. There's so many more games of importance. Another one, Oregon at Iowa.
Yes.
7-1 Oregon, number 9 team in the nation, going up against number 20 Iowa, who's also, they're both these teams are 4-1 in Big Ten play. So this one has, Big Ten title implications. Obviously Indiana and Ohio State are undefeated in conference play, but these two teams trying to stay right in the thick of it. If Iowa is able to upset Oregon, that knocks Oregon out of the playoff picture a little bit, but could thrust Iowa into it.
Look, Iowa's trying to find a way to get back into the conversation. I mean, they're putting up offensive numbers over the last few weeks, man. We can't. Did
they score 30?
They scored 41 against Minnesota, 38 against Rutgers. Right? They beat Penn State 25-24. They beat Wisconsin 37-0.
Oh my gosh! I don't know what to do with an Iowa team that scored 30 points, man.
They should be embarrassed. Everybody that's played against them should be embarrassed.
I don't know what this is.
Last year they had 3 games where they scored 40 points, 5 games where they scored at least 35. Pretty impressive. And these are conference games. Minnesota, Minnesota, Washington, Michigan State, Northwestern, Wisconsin. Yeah. It's pretty darn good.
That's fascinating, man. So a lot of fun games to watch. Let us know what the game of the week is for you over on social media or on YouTube. Let us know, again, how you're feeling about the Oklahoma Sooners this weekend. What do you think is the biggest story for Oklahoma this season? Who's been the MVP? Love to hear some of your thoughts on this team as we get ready to get down the stretch. 3 more games to go after the bye week. big ones, and we'll cover it all here on Locked On Sooners. So make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and we're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button over there. Hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports and go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube for more Oklahoma Sooners and college football coverage. You can follow me at John 9 Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But once again, for the thousands and thousands in attendance and the millions around the world, Boomer
Sooner.
And it's Friday, and once again, a great day to run the dang ball.
Every time.